So the left guard position for Tennessee is unresolved at this point. They've got Jamarco Jones, Dylan Radins, and Aaron Brewer, who will all be competing for that spot, but we're not sure who it's going to be at this point. Wanted to just do a film breakdown of Aaron Brewer, talk about what he does well, what he needs to improve, and we're just going to kind of break it down by each individual aspect of his game. We're going to look at the run blocking first, and we're going to start with just the standard reach block, which is kind of the staple skill set for a wide zone scheme like Tennessee's. Wanted to show just kind of a textbook reach block to get everybody on the same page. Couldn't find one on Aaron Brewer's tape, so we're going to take a look at this one by Nate Davis. And there's a few key elements to the reach block that I'm looking for on each rep. First and foremost, most important thing is you want the helmet on the play side shoulder. You want to just throw your eyes across the block. Outside hand on the armpit, inside hand on the breastplate. Keep the hips attached, and then just drive block at an angle. So this is kind of like the gold standard, I guess, for what we're really looking for on a reach block in wide zone. If we look at this first rep by Aaron Brewer, most important thing is good. He's got the helmet on the play side shoulder, outside hand on the armpit, inside hand on the breastplate. The main problem with this rep is that he's got his weight on his toes a little bit too much. He's a little too upright, but he had the most important thing taken care of, so he ended up winning the block. All right, now on this play, he isn't gonna get his helmet across. His hands are too wide. Outside hand is on the shoulder, inside hand's on the other shoulder, and then you see what happens. Gets thrown back. Cam Hayward's able to get back into the play. The main problem on this one is that he doesn't use his length well. Aaron Brewer's got 33.5-inch arms, I think. So that should be where he wins. But Cam Hayward's able to establish first meaningful contact. When you're at this point in the rep and the defender has his hands on your chest and you haven't even established contact yet, the defender's in full control right here. And then he's just able to two-gap and read the running back, make a play. All right, so right here, the 3-tech isn't going to get vertical at all in his first step. He's just going to go completely laterally. Aaron Brewer's obviously expecting him to kind of come along with him, be at the same vertical position. He's not, so Aaron Brewer ends up leaning, gets off balance, loses the block. This is a solid rep, gets the helmet across the face. Like I said, that's the most important thing. Outside hand is still too wide, but you've got the inside hand on the breastplate, and then you're just driving at an angle. Ends up being a lot of traffic around him, but pretty solid reach right there. Here's another one, exact same thing. It's not perfect, but it gets the job done because you've got helmet on the outside, inside hand on the breastplate, stabbing that inside armpit, outside hand still on the shoulder, so you would like that inside on the armpit as well. But the key thing is having like 5 landmarks that you're trying to hit, and if you hit 4, maybe 3 of them, it'll still probably be a successful block. Everything isn't going to be perfect every time, but you want to get stuff right more often than you get stuff wrong. Here's another one, very similar situation. Throws his eyes across the block. Backhand is good. Front side hand still needs to be a little bit more inside to the armpit. As they kind of move laterally, he ends up correcting that, but if you're able to establish inside hands, you can really just let your grip strength do the rest of the work. And so he's able to pretty much seal off the 3-tech on the front side of the wide zone here. Last reach block that we're going to look at, something that I know Keith Carter really emphasizes is taking what the defense is giving you, blocking a guy at the angle that he's going. If he's trying to go in one direction, just take him there. He's going to come in and reach this linebacker, Devin Bush. And as they start to move laterally, look at Devin Bush's base, look at his feet. His feet are at the same vertical position, so his base is incredibly weak right now. And Aaron Brewer recognizes that, and he's like, okay, I'm just gonna stab you with this backside hand, knock you over. That's a great job of just adjusting to the angle that the defense gives you. All right, so now we're gonna look at a couple overtakes, which is just a combo block where the covered lineman is gonna pass off this defender to you as the uncovered player, and then you're essentially just trying to execute a man reach. This is a great job right here by Aaron Brewer. The most important thing, very similar to the standard reach block, is just getting your eyes across the midline. That should be first priority at all times. And then great hand placement, drive block at an angle. That's textbook right there as far as an overtake block. Finishes them into the ground. Now right here, Something that's important with an overtake is that, like I said, you're drive blocking on an angle. You're not circling it. So he does a great job at first, dips his head a little bit, but he's got the eyes across the midline. But then see, he tries to just circle this overtake block. So what happens is that by rounding off this block, you essentially sacrifice all of your momentum and you're kind of starting from square one, whereas the defensive end has been revving up for a couple seconds and then he's able to drive Aaron Brewer back into the play. Aaron Brewer's a extremely light offensive lineman as it is, so anything with leverage or balance that you're not technically perfect on, it's going to get taken advantage of a lot more than someone like Roger Saffold or even Nate Davis, who are, good size for guards, and they can get away with a little bit more technical flaws and stuff like that. Sometimes you're going to get movement inside from the guy that you're trying to reach, and the most important thing with this is using your inside hand to catch the movement and then flip your hips, stay attached. This is a great rep against Aaron Donald. He's just going to swim inside. This is where that length really comes in handy. See how he's able to stay attached, flip his hips, does just enough to keep Aaron Donald, probably the freakiest athlete, definitely on the defensive line in the NFL, does just enough to keep him out of the play. This is a great clip to really show everything that Aaron Brewer brings to the table. Number one, it's length, and number two, it's hips literally on a swivel. Like, this dude's ability to just flip his hips, being at such a light weight, he's able to do stuff in terms of mobility that a lot of guards in the NFL can't do. Here's an example though where he's just kind of starting out with a little bit too much forward momentum. You see he's dipping his head to start out here. Does a good job still of reaching out that backside hand, but because he's just barreling forward at such a high rate, he isn't really able to recover, can't stay attached. 91 makes a play in the backfield. Here's another one, again, just dipping his head, sacrifices his balance. This is a play where weight and play strength really play a big role. As number 95 is doing this swim move inside, if you watch that right hand, he's able to trap that like right against Aaron Brewer's shoulder blade, and that's enough to just push him forward, take him out of the play, and he can't stay attached. This is a play that definitely just on a first glance, it looks like Aaron Brewer's at fault, but if we watch him here, dipping the head too much, yes, but does a good job with that backside hand. He stays attached. This is where having the running back make you right is so important. When you get movement inside like this and you got guards trying to stay attached and recover, it's not going to look pretty, but Foreman's got to recognize that and not try to cut back into the penetration. When we look at second level blocks, essentially in wide zone, it's really just the same technique as a man reach. The main difference or the main distinction is that the way you play it is dependent on the linebacker's pre-snap alignment. So on this play, Bobby Wagner is lined up on the back side. So when Aaron Brewer climbs and gets to the second level, he's gonna square up and snap to the back side and just cut him off that way. So that's a great job by Aaron Brewer here. Again, you just see the fluid hips, has no problem adjusting his body where he needs to. But then if the linebacker is straight up with you or he's on the front side of the play, it's essentially just a man reach. So he's gonna get to the second level, and again, helmet across the midline, same thing with the hand placement and everything, and then you're trying to keep your hips attached. That's a really important point with second level blocks, and we'll get into some of these reps with Aaron Brewer later, but a lot of times guys just want to kind of shuck them, and it might look cool because you might get 3 or 4 yards of movement back, but then right after that they're back in the play. So you want to just establish inside hands, lock your hips, and then drive them backwards. Here's another second level block, stiff arm, and Aaron Brewer ran a 4.97 if I'm not mistaken, so he has no problem getting to his landmarks at the second level. You'd like him to stay attached on CJ Mosley here a little bit better, but does a good job of clearing out traffic for Derrick Henry. And then when you've got this linebacker creeping up towards the front side, a lot of times you're not going to be able to pull off that reach. They have a advantage in terms of where they're positioned pre-snap. So a lot of times Brewer will just do a cut block, does a great job on this one. And then if the linebacker is being aggressive, if he's going to get vertical right at the snap, then it's like I said earlier, just be flexible and let the defense go where they're trying to go. Just take them there and take them out of the play. Let the running back make you right. McNichols does a good job of cutting back right here. Great job of recognizing he's not going to be able to reach this guy that's coming full speed ahead at him. So just take that inside shoulder, tackle him out of the play. Pretty good job on this one. Start of the rep, he's gonna lock that arm, give Ben Jones a bit of an easier shoulder to reach, and then good hand placement here. Good job keeping his feet active. You'd like the helmet to be more to the outside, but overall a really solid rep for Aaron Brewer. Here's another one where you've got the backer shaded towards the play side, knows he's probably not gonna be able to reach that play side shoulder, so he's just gonna cut block. Now, a lot of times on these second level blocks, the linebacker is going to try to undercut the climb. And if you feel that coming, you've got to do exactly what Aaron Brewer does here, which is just stab with your backside hand, apply force in the opposite direction of where he's trying to go. This is pretty universal with every single offensive line, defensive line interaction. You can just never be late with your hands. You see right here, 93 establishes first meaningful contact. Once you're in this position where he's got his hands on you and your arms are still by your side, he's in control of the interaction. He can take you wherever he wants to. And like I said, Aaron Brewer being under 300 pounds, that just makes everything from a technical standpoint that much more important. He just has a way smaller margin for error because if you're late with your hands like this, it's a lot easier to throw someone around that's 290 pounds than it is someone that's 320. So right here, 56, shaded towards the front side of the play, you always want to overshoot at the second level as opposed to undershoot because you can always use that backside hand to stab through. You never want to square up like this at the second level when you're on the backside of wide zone because right here, when you start to just square up and meet him where he is, he can just accelerate right to the front side, make the play. When the linebacker does try to undercut you, again, it's the same thing with inside movement at the line of scrimmage. It's all about using that backside catch hand to stay attached, flip your hips around. He gets this hand too wide on the arm, prevents him from staying attached. And then last one we're gonna look at in terms of second level blocks. This one I included just to kind of further emphasize how fluid Aaron Brewer's hips are. So he's gonna get held, trying to climb to the second level. Can't get there, should have been a penalty. But if you look at this hip movement, he's able to turn his body 270 degrees and still impact the play. Where Aaron Brewer's at his best, in my opinion, is on these snap blocks where you've got the double team with the center right here, and then this linebacker's coming back in the opposite direction. This is another area where being so agile, having such fluid hips is just so valuable because he's able to secure the double team and then immediately snap in the opposite direction, drive the linebacker out of the play. Here's one from New England, double team, sees Hightower scraping over the top, flips his hips, and then finishes him into the ground. Here's one against Pittsburgh, double team on Cam Hayward, 41's coming through the A-gap, so explosive, meeting him right at the line of scrimmage. Here's one where you see the hips and the length, double team, pulls off the snap block with his arms fully extended. And then last one here against Miami, they got him lined up at tight end after Pruitt went down. Double team, snap block, paves the way for a big gain. So as a run blocker, I think that Aaron Brewer does a lot of things really well. And I think that he's absolutely a starting caliber run blocking guard, especially in Tennessee's scheme that runs wide zone so often. When they would run duo or power, he just wasn't able to generate a ton of displacement on down blocks and stuff like that. But I feel perfectly comfortable with Aaron Brewer run blocking in Tennessee's offensive scheme. The main reason that I'm pretty hesitant about just penciling in Aaron Brewer as the starting left guard is he's just not reliable in pass protection at all. I would love to be able to say, oh, he just needs to fix, these couple technical flaws, but he's actually pretty technically polished. I was really impressed with the way that he used his length in pass protection. It's just sort of a thing where when he goes up against someone like Cameron Hayward, who has a ton of power, he just doesn't have the weight or the anchor or the play strength to really deal with a bull rush. Even in pass protection reps that are technically wins, a bull rush from a power rusher like Cam Hayward is like a guaranteed 4 or 5 yards of pushback into the pocket. And then, as I've mentioned, as someone who's so undersized, when the technique isn't good, which does still happen, he'll get these just kind of abysmal reps in pass protection where he lets someone blow the play completely up. And it's not just someone pushing the pocket, it's giving up a sack on the first play of the game when Julio Jones is screaming wide open down the sideline. So to me, I think Aaron Brewer obviously still has room to develop. He's coming into his third year, so he's not maxed out or anything. But I don't necessarily feel great about him as a starting guard, especially when on the opposite side, you've got Nate Davis, who kind of has the same relative strengths and weaknesses. Like, he's a really good run blocker on the move, just not that great of a pass protector. So to me, I think the role that Aaron Brewer has had the last 2 seasons, which is kind of that swingman interior offensive lineman, he can play center, guard in a pinch. I think he's great in that role, and I think that should be his role, at least for this next year. You know, if he takes some massive step forward, great. You know, maybe heading into his 4th year, he's someone that the Titans can rely on to be their guard. But at this point, he's a backup in my opinion.